How can you make a prequel feel relevant? How can you entice viewers with character growth when a character's arc already ended? How can Solo, a Star Wars story, accomplish reinvigorating the Star Wars formula? The answer was simple yet expected of the team creating a Solo, a Star Wars movie story. Make a run-of-the-mill story with plenty of callbacks to other films in the franchise while being entertaining nonetheless. Solo's hero's journey template is tried and true for being satisfying to watch. Seeing a new side to a galaxy far, far away from lightsabers and politics is a fan-requested experience this movie hopes to satisfy. The new journey involves showing a darker and grittier side to the non-force-powered individuals as people are shown that are otherwise out of the direct limelight. It's a story about the lives of the 99%, since the people are hustling and scrounging for scraps in their underbelly of this futuristic society. Even in a technologically advanced world, in comparison to our own, there are plenty of people living their lives with the technology that hasn't improved their lives nearly at all. Star Wars has always been great at keeping the 80s movie aesthetic, with weird and anachronistic technology and robots that look advanced and primitive at the same time. Some of the particle effects on certain characters even look dated and futuristic and modernized in a weird, mixed up way. Sometimes it even becomes distracting, since the company took criticism from fans and used puppets. Along with the puppets are some spotty effects that come off poorly if you're not used to the tone and feel of these films. You can't help but feel the initial aliens look off standing next to each other with practical makeup mixed in with puppetry and wire work. Better practical effects could have been utilized. Puppetry and other ideas don't always work with scenes of real human characters. Other special effects such as lighting, light speed travel, and the flying ships and hover cars look great since they have a weight to them as they bob and curve over terrain or in the air that isn't duplicated as well with pure CGI. Many new alien additions and world-building events help flesh out the story, even if some ideas seem half-baked, such as random costume designs or over-designed aliens. The tint of an overabundant CGI and large spectacle is lost for the more grounded tale of a harsher side of Star Wars, but this works well for the movie itself and the story, even if it's a bit more renders of effects that could have helped make it more polished. The story is a grounded tale that often comes off disjointed by the third act in the story, as it's trying to tell more with twists and turns, which are a hallmark of the series, and run the gambit of things you've seen before or expect. But it does work fine in the own movies right. Motivations and goals of characters aren't always black and white. It's a testament to the directors and the script that they found a way to still make everything coherent and simple, unlike other more dubious attempts in movies like the Pirates of the Caribbean. The Star Wars space pirates, explorers, or scavengers are much more relatable and approachable, for their actions still ring true to their characters. Solo always tries willfully to be optimistic, yet slightly hints of his eventual swing to a more seasoned pilot becoming apparent throughout the film. The side characters and their eventual friendship is palpable and well written. No one acts overly interested in some contrived save-the-galaxy-like mission until they are given good, convincing arguments about these arguments, also leading to the fact that in the first place they're trying to save their own tails anyway. Saving the galaxy just comes with the price. The movie works best when it's moving at a steady pace and quickly throws in the references to Solo's upbringing that people are familiar with in other movies. The references function more as a historical plot of when certain events took place and less as a personal journey of self-discovery leading to the other older Solo in prior movies. Non-fans will enjoy this movie more than fans. Non-fans might be less receptive to callbacks and instead embrace them as story devices instead of nostalgic grabs at treasured fan memories. I enjoyed the callbacks and felt they didn't hurt the canon or ideas set in many people's heads for speculation on how Solo made his daring parsec trip or how he met Chewbacca. Many will feel mixed on the way callbacks or call forwards, given the timeline, work in the film. The studio handled them the best they could, and without them, the movie would feel less connected to the main story anyway. Every actor is exceptional in their role, the villain being the least and weakest character. The villain falls into a generic trope of killing henchmen and acting crazy, then calm, then doing something the next second, similar to many manic villains like the Joker. His army is overstated due to the budget constraints and lowered the stakes of the movie itself. He comes off like a perpetual child working for bigger bad guys that are essentially not as threatening either, since they never measure up to much for our hero, since the boss of whoever was never in the newest iterations as a big threat. The villain is also gone for most of the plot and is easily forgotten. This villain needs to be stand alone, and as a result, his implementation into the story has some weaknesses. It's almost destined to be forgettable, since even our main protagonist, for fair reasons, never mentions him again in the storyline's timeline. The movie was fighting an uphill battle to make the villain memorable, so I am not too disappointed that they failed. Many spoke of Donald Glover's performance, but he wasn't in the movie enough for me to be completely blown away. He has some incredible lines and facial expressions that sell his character as Lando. Other characters, such as Solo, kept tugging at my heartstrings. He was so likable as a pluckish rogue that just wants to get back to his treasured crush. He plays a genuine guy with aspirations for more that never gives up, regardless of how dire and hopeless his predicament or chances of changing his life gets. His life is full of disappointments and the galaxy is a cruddy mess for all but a few, yet the role is so well cast that you can't help but fall for his performance. Even the damsel in distress gets put in the forefront and makes decisions on her own without seemingly going or being overly powerful or pushy against the cast and story. She is funny, lively, engaging, and deeply embedded in the plot. It's a well-written character that has realistic flaws and weaknesses. Auxiliary characters like the funny alien and new robot companion are probably going to be fan favorites, since they liven up the film in the script without going too far into Jar Jar Binks territory. The callbacks to AI becoming ill-functioning or the ability of droids to build themselves is a nice addition given some of the materials adopted from now non-canon material seen in the expanded Star Wars lore. I personally have seen newer Star Wars material and was only injected into the mythos from the acclaimed Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic video games. The movie had me in shock when I thought the characters said Pazak, which was a 21-like card game for the video game and was being played in one scene, or I thought it was at least. Other material I've gleaned over and learned from osmosis, thus your mileage may vary on how you enjoy this movie in comparison to my marginally informed take on the saga. I forgave many elements that fans would not, and embraced many elements because I was so new to the ideas. An example fans would question, such as the difference in characters between Solo at the end of this movie and the older version, was overlooked by me, since the movie hints at a change in his life that would modify his personality to the one fans are used to seeing on screen. There obviously isn't enough development for Solo's character if you compare it to the other movies, but as it stands alone as its own movie, it develops enough for this single story. The movie tries to link to the other stories and also work in its own story, thus many viewers would feel at odds with the push and pull of the plot. I enjoyed the musical callbacks, even if it's the same classical scores and sounds that worked well in the past and got reused verbatim. I embraced the lesser used elements from the Star Wars movies that the Solo movie relinquished, such as the overuse of dated fade swipes seen in other older Star Wars movies and the nostalgic crawl credit roll. I even gave the few surprises a fair shake as I recognized the Easter egg and didn't hark on it as a fan would for timeline reasons or other issues. Overall, the movie was a pleasant surprise, and even with a simple plot, it managed to not feel like an added-on episode of a TV show between stories like Last Jedi did, and instead felt big enough with just the right amount of lowered stakes and a complete story. You're always aware who the antagonists are and what exactly the heroes are doing. Several antagonists peek their threatening heads to complicate the plot without overcomplicating the narrative structure. You're always aware of several games of cat and mouse being juggled along as each set piece is accomplished and accompanied by a credible looming threat. It's at least a thrilling popcorn flick with a decent story to tide you over for about 2 hours. Solo is worth the recommendation for fans and non-fans. 70%.